Welcome to a kind of a late video here. It's about 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm at my house, but I've been going through and grading some of your FRQs, and we've got some issues here. So here's a little guide that I use with my students on answering free response question AP Bio. We still got time, but I just want to make sure that we're starting to get in a good habit of answering these. So writing FRQs don't have to be hard. The key to your AP Bio exam is the free response. Again, it's not till May, but that's really what's going to get you to a 3, 4, 5. It's important to start brushing up on skills you need to be successful at writing for those questions. And so here's a phospholipid question we might see at some point. So a few important tips you need. One, you need to read the question carefully. Use the reading period you have to carefully read over what the question is asking you to do. And we'll talk more about reading periods later. But make sure so for example, water question this week, and we're going to work on it for the next 2 weeks, is to make sure you read the question carefully and be sure you're answering what they are asking. Know what the command terms mean. Look at the verbs. What are you being asked to do? Describe, explain, justify, state a claim, calculate. I use this in my class, so you guys won't know what a bill is. It's a biological interactive learning log. But my face-to-face classes, we do keep a notebook. But there's a difference between describing and explain and justifying and calculate. I can describe this as a notebook, right? It's got a cover, it's got binding. How do I explain it? Explain requires a little more detail, and then justify requires a lot more. So just be careful on those command terms. Carefully examine any figures or data given. If there's a diagram, ask yourself, what do I see? What does it mean? If a data set's given, think what claim can be made about this data, because that's often what they'll be asking you to do. Once you get set up in your AP classroom, then I will start providing you with extra FRQ practice. For those of you that want to do it, for those of you that have no interest, you're just taking a class, it is what it is. Plot graphs with following in mind. What kind of graph am I being asked? Is it a bar graph? Is it a histogram? Is it a line graph? Scatter plot. Title's not always needed. But are my axes labeled with the units? Are my axes scaled properly? Are my axes oriented correctly? Did I plot the data that I was asked for? So those are kind of things you need to ask yourself when you're doing the graph. Don't repeat the prompt in your answer. This is not an English test, so do not rewrite the question. It doesn't answer the question. So the reader knows what the question is. Trust me, I've been a reader forever. Just answer the question. Answer using complete sentence paragraph form. Don't use bullet points or an outline. These are not considered complete sentences or paragraphs. You will not get credit. So do not do bulleted points or an outline. An introduction and conclusion is not needed. Again, you're not writing for AP English, right? Or A Push or Human Geography or whatever else AP class. Just get to the point. Also, it's a waste of your time. It's a time test, so do not rewrite an introduction or conclusion. It does not matter. Be clear when communicating. Don't assume the reader knows what you're talking about. Saying things like it moves from high to low doesn't mean anything to a reader, and neither do things like it decrease when the question asks over what range of decrease occurs. So you got to be really specific. So let's look at a question. This represents a plasma membrane with molecules present on either side. Describe the biological need for cells to be surrounded by membrane that is selectively permeable for different materials. Explain how the model shows selective permeability of specific ions. Describe the characteristics of the phospholipid bilayer that permits small hydrophobic lipid molecules to pass directly across the membrane. Sorry I cut off part of this question, but based on the model, explain where the molecules shall cross the membrane require energy to do so. So as you can see, A, B, C, D, the verbs are in bold. Those are things that you have to do. The cub strategy, circle, underline, box helps, but unfortunately, being that this is a time test, you may not have a whole lot of time to do the cub, but circle the verb, identify what you're being asked to do, underline how many, how much, how many things am I being asked to write about, box the biology, what science concepts or skills am I being asked to demonstrate. So mark this up using the cub strategy. You could pause this or whatever, but I'm not going to go through the cub strategy with this one right now. But what do you see? What does it mean? Interpret the figure, right? It represents a plasma membrane and molecules present on the other side. So describe the biological needs for cells to be surrounded by a membrane that is selectively permeable. There's your describe. What science do you need to explain? You need to explain how the model shows selective permeability. So the idea that certain stuff can move in, certain stuff cannot. Describe the characteristics, and then explain where the molecules shown cross-membrane require energy to do so. So those are the things that you'd have to do. If we had more time, I'd have you pause this and mark it up. But anyways, and then here's another just type of FRQ. Again, this was just an introduction. I used this in class. I got this from another teacher friend of mine, but just kind of go through these main points in the beginning about what do you need to do, right? This is the big thing here is go through 1 through 8. So hopefully you found this helpful. We're going to be working on FRQs quite a bit over the course of the next 30 or 28 weeks. But again, if you got any questions, feel free to ask. But work on those FRQs, and once we get everyone signed up for AP Classroom, we'll do a little bit more with FRQ practice. This is me signing off from my house. Hopefully you're having a good night, and I will catch up with you later. So this is me signing off on how to answer some free response questions.